It's the John Phillips Show. Johnny is on vacation. He's back on Monday. It's Randy Wang here, and the phone number to join us is 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, and search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. I just put up the 1 o'clock hour, which included our interview with Fox 11's Marla Tejas. So check it out. Share it with your friends, with your family. And even though I've only got one more hour here, I do a show on our Southern California station every day from 5 to 6. So if you're in the Bay, you can give it a listen by going to KABC.com. And if you're in Southern California, well, just stay tuned right here at 5 o'clock. It comes on right after Frank Motek, the KABC News Blitz, or the News Blitz with Randy Wang, whatever the name of the show is. It's my show. So enjoy it. Rob Bonta, the Attorney General from California, is quite a cliché-er.
Every type of leadership is about meeting the moment and rising to the occasion, and this is what's required. And so we're stepping up and getting it done.
And Rob Bonta held a press conference in San Diego with District Attorney Summer Stephan to announce a massive bust, a massive operation arresting over 100 people for soliciting prostitution. That's right. It's time to crack down on it. Let's hear what happened. Here's a report from CBS 8 in San Diego.
That the message was clear that human beings are not for sale.
Except on OnlyFans.
That's the message behind a major 6-day sex trafficking operation that resulted in over 100 arrests here in San Diego County.
My goodness. That's how many per day? I can't do that kind of math. I went to LAUSD. That's quite a lot. And that's just in San Diego. This ran multiple counties, although not Los Angeles County, because we didn't hear about we didn't hear Rob Bonta's task force going to Larchmont or Figueroa, but they were in, I'm guessing, Barrio Logan.
Good evening. I'm Steffi Roche.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. State and local law enforcement announced the results of a coordinated multi-agency sweep today targeting pimps and their customers.
Johnny's got to like that they didn't say John's.
CBS 8's Richard Allen is here with more on this targeted enforcement and the help being offered to the victims. Richard.
And Steffi and Carlo, this nearly week-long operation involving more than a dozen law enforcement agencies led to 120 arrests statewide, the vast majority of them right here in San Diego County.
Why is that?
Including arrests in known sex trafficking hotspots in the city of San Diego, National City, Santee, and San Marcos.
Let's be clear. Human trafficking is happening in our communities, behind closed doors and in plain sight.
Well, yes, we're well aware of that it's happening. There are news reports about it constantly. In fact, legislation from Scott Wiener pretty much decriminalized the act of street walking.
Speaking in San Diego today, California Attorney General Rob Bonta also made it clear that law enforcement is focusing on those driving the demand for sex trafficking, including the sex buyers and the pimps.
There you go. But is that going to stop it? Probably not. Look, there are some things where I don't know how you get rid of the demand for, considering the tendencies of stupid young men. Maybe when the robots take over and, you can just legally buy your own sex robot, maybe this will all tamp down, but there is a need out there, and unfortunately that need is going to be fulfilled unless we decide to either really crack down on it or go the other way.
Our strategy is straightforward: reduce demand, disrupt trafficking networks, and protect survivors.
Operation Stand on Demand, which took place from January 19th through the 24th, led to 87 people arrested for loitering, 25 for solicitation, and 8 for pimping and pandering.
They got 8 pimps off the streets. The rest of them, the people who solicited, the people who were loitering and waiting around for the streetwalkers, I got to imagine they got a ticket. That'll learn them. I don't know if San Diego County does Dear John letters, but they're starting to do that up here in L.A.
Of that 120 total arrests, 105 were here in San Diego County.
105 people who thought that they were going to go out.
You can say men. I don't think any women were up and down the streets of Barrio Logan looking for a prostitute. Maybe I'm wrong.
Who thought that they were going to go out and buy a human being like they're a hamburger or a slice of pizza.
I mean, it's a weird thing that we can talk about how morally outrageous that this persists, but we facilitate this because, sure, we have these occasional operations where we crack down heavily on the street walking where we know it's happening. Some neighborhoods we don't. They say they're cracking down on the Figueroa corridor. They're not. We heard about everything going on in Larchmont Village. They're not. We heard about all the stuff going on Cap Street in San Francisco where the answer was, well, build barrios so cars can't get in there. Outside the churches, in the schools, in Oakland, outside of the homeless encampments on International Boulevard. We know about all that. And there's the occasional bust. But you know what we also know of? And this is why I just don't believe this state when they say they want to take this issue seriously. There are a lot of licensed businesses where these kinds of transactions are taking place every single day. And we've all seen them. We've all driven past them. And for some reason, our cities, our counties, and our states just like to have that business tax revenue. But there are more massage parlors in Los Angeles than people in need of a massage. I'm not talking about Burke Williams. I'm not talking about Glen Ivy. I'm not talking about 10,000 Waves, the spa that I hung out at in Santa Fe last week. No. I'm talking about the strip mall massage parlor. You've seen them everywhere. They usually have a flashing sign that says open because, you know, people really love to get lower back massages at 11 o'clock at night. They've got iron bars on the windows, and they usually have some nonsensical name. Johnny loves to use the joke. They're called Yum Yum Number 2. But you've heard them 7 days massage, all day massage. They are usually occupied in a strip mall that might also have, I don't know, a smoke shop, another hotbed for illegal activity. I'm just sorry. Maybe I'm generalizing. But for the amount of smoke shops that we have, which you would think, oh, are places where people go to buy tobacco? No, it's where you go to buy bongs, probably things that you're not supposed to buy, like kratom and all kinds of legally dubious substances. What was that thing? There was this thing that used to be able to buy at head shops and smoke shops, and it wasn't pot, and it wasn't synthetic pot, although that was allowed there too. But you also had this weird thing, this spice thing that you could buy, that you could only buy there, that you could smoke, and it would instantly give you a headache. Look, maybe it's generalizing, but I think the vast majority of smoke shops are fronts for either criminal organizations or they're just straight up selling things they're not supposed to. But we allow it because we need that business tax revenue. In fact, there's a strip mall near my home, which will tell you that I don't live in that good of a neighborhood. There are 4 units in this tiny little strip mall. One of them is a bakery that went out of business. One of them's been vacant for over a year. One of them's a massage parlor, and one of them's a smoke shop. It is nothing but a hotbed of activity that is legally dubious and semi-ethical. Because we all know what goes on at all of those massage parlors. There's no legitimate healing going on there. There's a term that I cannot use on the radio. I'd like to, because it's a funny name, but I cannot use it. But that is what the vast majority of those places are. And the cities know this because the cities collect business taxes from them. So if you really wanted to take this issue seriously And including a lot of those, you're talking about a lot of people that were literally sent here in shipping containers, like The Wire in season 2, where there is a lot of sex slavery going on. Look, if we wanted to take it seriously, outside of these occasional busts on Sexual Trafficking Awareness Month, we would be shutting down those establishments left and right. But here's the thing. If you shut down all of the smoke shops and you shut down all of the massage parlors, who's going to rent out the spaces in these strip malls? Now, maybe it's time to get rid of the strip malls, and that's where you could start redeveloping and building housing instead of tearing down single-family homes. Another conversation for another day. But it's just always weird to me how it's so obvious what some of these businesses are, and yet we're profiting off of it. Now, you could also go in the complete other way on this, because I'm a man who is starting to travel the world. I have been to other places where, well, this specific industry that we're talking about has been legalized and regulated. You don't have to go too far to see this. You can go over to Pahrump, Nevada, to the Chicken Ranch or the Bunny Ranch. We used to have that guy, Dennis Hoff, on the radio station all the time. And I remember when he used to show up at my original radio station, the FM talk station in Los Angeles, he would drop off booty passes, which was like $1,000 gift certificate that bought you, well, it bought you an hour of you-know-what. But yeah, that industry, which is illegal and we're cracking down on here, is legal and regulated pretty much everywhere outside of Las Vegas in Nevada. You go south to Tijuana, they actually have a regulated industry. You go to where I spent part of my holidays at, I didn't go to these establishments, but I definitely walked past it. Amsterdam is famous for a lot of things, including the red light district. And in the red light district, it is a regulated prostitution experience where everyone who's doing it is licensed. They are checked. There are specific rules they have to deal with. There are no pimps involved. These are independent contractors that are willfully making a living doing this. And there are plenty of tourists that are like, hey, look at the lady in the window. I don't know what the right answer is, but what I do know is you can either fully crack down on this, which includes getting a lot tougher on the purchasers of sex trafficking, the Johns. Sorry, Johnny. We can actually make that a felony. Right now, it's a felony if it's a minor, but if they're an adult, it doesn't matter what the situation is, it's a ticket. And that doesn't seem to be doing it. So we could go that way, but we could also go the other way. I don't know what the right answer is. I will say, you didn't see any street walking in Amsterdam because there's a very specific place where this thing is done, and it is very, very regulated.
Victims can be any age, any gender, and any background.
Sheriff Kelly Martinez also points out that cooperation among agencies is critical to combating trafficking, which, according to the DA's office, is an $810 million a year industry in San Diego County alone.
Whoa! What is going on in San Diego County? And look, is there a deeper question as to why so many, men of all ages participate in this, but I would argue it's mostly young men, and we have got a crisis with young men these days where, and this is a real statistic, of all people, Gavin Newsom talks about this a lot. It's like 30% of men under 30 have never asked a woman out on a date. There is a weird situation going on where this is what they do to, fulfill their needs. So, when the robots take over, everything will be okay.
Our border location, major highways, tourism, and the military presence make regional collaboration essential.
Wait, so is that why it's so high in San Diego? Because it's where a lot of soldiers live? That's stereotyping.
No virus, no trafficking.
Marissa Ugarte is executive director of the nonprofit Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition, which fights human trafficking on both sides of the border. She says operations like this, focusing on curbing the demand for trafficking, is crucial to sending a clear message.
Is that you're going to be arrested. You're going to have a felony, especially if you are caught with a minor.
Well, only if you're caught with a minor. Otherwise, it's a ticket. So, again, if we want to take this issue seriously, right now the punishment for committing this act. And maybe it doesn't have to be prison time. Maybe it has to be public shaming. Maybe we need billboards. We need good old-fashioned scarlet letters. I don't know.
So buyers, beware. Pimps, beware.
There's just something legitimately funny about the word pimp. But yeah, those are the worst of the worst.
Adding that in her experience, trafficking victims can be as young as 12 years old.
You have recruitment in malls. You have them in schools. You have them in restaurants.
Law enforcement also making it clear that more operations like this most recent one are coming.
This isn't the end. This is the beginning. And if you're planning to lurk in our communities, you need to know we're going to be there.
And that's all great. And I'm glad that they made so many busts in the span of a week, mostly in San Diego County. But again, if the only thing that the Johns are getting is a ticket, is that really a deterrent?
And law enforcement was also able to use a new state law that just went into effect January 1st to carry out some of these arrests. AB 379, which was sponsored by District Attorney Summer Stephan and Mayor Todd Gloria, makes it a misdemeanor to loiter with the intent to buy sex, and also makes it a felony to solicit sex from someone who is 16 or 17 years old.
So wait, it wasn't even a misdemeanor until this year? Let alone it's a felony, obviously, if it's a minor. But you remember how much of a fight that was in Sacramento.
Richard, one thing that kind of jumped out in that story to me, California is a big state. Right. 120 arrests, 105 were in San Diego. Right. Did they say why so many arrests were made here?
Well, we are sort of a nexus, sort of a hotspot for this activity, unfortunately. There's a lot of factors, and Sheriff Martinez kind of pointed it out with our location to the border, our military presence, our presence of the major highway systems here. We're a major tourist destination. So all of that together makes us, unfortunately, a hotspot for human trafficking.
And
it's so weird how they keep bringing up, well, we have all the military bases, so that's why.
And the Attorney General mentioned the importance of helping out the survivors of sex trafficking.
That's right.
What kind of resources are out there for victims?
Yeah, he made a very good point. He said a lot of times, too often, the victims are treated as criminals and not as victims, which they are. And there are a lot of resources locally and nationally. There are 3 family justice centers here in San Diego County. There's the Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition, who we interviewed. There's the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and we have links.
And look, there is definitely, some horrific things going on there. There is sex slavery. There are minors being trafficked. But there are also people doing this of their own accord. There are also people who are willingly walking up and down those streets that willingly go into this. Maybe it's a financial reason, what have you, but they're not all fully victims. Now, do they become victimized and they get taken over by the pimp and there is a, real... there are some real problems going on there. Yes. But it's also, again, the things that we decide are morally outrageous. It's funny because if 2 people exchange money to perform an act, that's against the law. But you can pay 2 people to perform that act on camera, and that's legal. Hell, that industry was born in the San Fernando Valley. You can have an OnlyFans account where people can subscribe to you to do all kinds of things, including occasionally inviting a subscriber to join you. And somehow that's legal. So, look, I think we either got to go down one road here, but we got to stick to it. Do you think we need to crack down further on prostitution in California, make soliciting prostitution of any age a felony? Or do you think it's time to go the other way and go full Amsterdam and legalize and regulate this industry? What say you? Give us a call, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Would you like to see California crack down even further on prostitution and sex trafficking? Or should we say, screw it, legalize and regulate the industry? Cut the pimps out of the game because the prostitutes can be independent contractors. What do you think? Legalize it or crack down further? 800-222-5222. California Attorney General Ron Bonta announced over 100 arrests in San Diego County for solicitation of prostitution. But because of California laws, unless they were a minor, these guys are only getting a ticket. So do you think we need to crack down even further on solicitation of prostitution, making it a felony? Or should we go full Amsterdam and just legalize and regulate this never-ending demand industry? What say you? There's no wrong answer here. 800-222-5222. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Al writes in, fun fact from World War II, during the war, prostitutes around military bases complained that teenage girls who were khaki-wacky were giving it away and severely cutting into their business. I bet Shang likes that, so let's hear from her.
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
And by the way, we're going to Gladstone's in Long Beach on Friday, February 6th. How exciting is this? We're heading to Gladstone's in Long Beach for our next live broadcast, and you're invited. Come enjoy the great food, good vibes, and a fun afternoon by the water. We'll have special guests like Susan Shelley of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. She'll tell you more about your taxpayer rights and protecting Prop 13 as the courts have made it easier to raise your taxes. Come by and sign the petition to save Prop 13. The deadline's coming fast. We need those signatures by February 17th, so go to the website, saveprop13.com. Come hang out with us, grab a bite, and be part of the broadcast. We're taking your phone calls right now, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Rob Bonta announced a huge operation up and down the state of California, but mostly focused in San Diego, arresting over 100 people for solicitation of prostitution and or loitering. But most of those people, unless they were going after a minor, just got a ticket. So there's two ways we can go here. Do we need to crack down even further to curb demand of prostitution in California, making solicitation a felony? Or do we go the other way, legalize and regulate this industry and go full Amsterdam? What say you? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. I will say this, Amsterdam is an immaculately clean city, and you don't really see any street walking because you know exactly where to get that service, and it is legal. Let's go to John in San Jose. John, hello.
Hello. I agree. It would be safer for the guys. It would be safer for the women for having it legalized. You would do away with the pimps, and the girls would get beat up.
There is that aspect to it. There is a legitimate need to, use such crass terms for this service. But the way that we decriminalize it now, we are allowing women to be victimized by the pimps that kind of rule over them with impunity. If you're going to legalize it, you've got to completely crack down on the illegal industry, which means every massage parlor is going out of business.
That's true.
There you go, John. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Look, I'm not saying every massage parlor and smoke shop is a hotbed of illegal activity. I'm just saying most of them are. But I think the dirty little secret is that we don't want to go after those industries because cities and counties in the state need their business taxes, even though we all know what's going on there. Let's go to Danny in Gilroy. Danny, hello.
How you doing, Randy? Thank you for you guys' show. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
I'm a 66-year-old male, and I'm single. Been single for about 12 years, and I run two businesses, and I've tried online dating, and I'm sorry, but most of the women are whacked out or drunks, and for me to be able to go in once a month and get a massage and a little something done, $150, it's cheaper than going on a date.
I guess that is a good point.
It is. It's real. I'm not alone in this. Most of the guys I talk to, are like, yeah, boom, boom, and you're done, and you can go on about your business and your day, and you're not having to sit there texting, talking, making plans to go out to dinner and stuff. It's actually real convenient.
Well, as the old joke is, you're not paying them for the act, you're paying them to leave.
Exactly. You hit it right on the nail head, buddy. And with how long that this has been an issue in the world, or at least the United States, it's like, come on, man. It's like you keep trying to fix a broken wheel, but you don't fix it. And fix it. Just make it legal. It'd be so much easier for everybody. And the whole Amsterdam thing where you're guaranteed that the women are clean and everything's taken care of, they're making a living. If that's what they choose to have a profession, it's their right. Being forced to do it, I disagree with it 100%.
I think you make some really strong points. I appreciate the call, Danny. Danny telling us exactly what's going on. Look, and there is a lot of people who are doing this on the regular. I don't know, even if we increased it to a felony, that we would necessarily tamp down on the demand. There's always going to be a demand for this kind of service, whether it's, for not wanting to deal with dating or people that are intimidated by dating, what have you. People still have these needs, these urges. Now, will this whole world look completely different when the sex robots take over? Possibly. The other thing you do have to think about, though, is it's one thing to say, let's legalize and regulate it. And honestly, after traveling to Amsterdam, I'm like, well, it seems to make sense there. And it's really not that big of a deal there. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But there's so many other things to see and do in Amsterdam. They're like, oh, yeah, there's the red light district. Cool, let's go check out the canals, and then let's go to the Rijksmuseum. I miss Europe. But the implementation is something to think about, because California has a terrible track record at legalizing industries, specifically the marijuana industry. People voted to regulate and legalize marijuana. And the idea was that if we legalize it and tax it, then we can get rid of the illegal cartel marijuana industry. And here we are 8 years later, and that illegal industry is bigger than the legal industry because of how awful the rollout was for legalization. How awful the rollout was for the tax structure, where it's more expensive to do it legally and we don't punish the people that do it illegally. So even in the abstract, where you can think about, yes, it could make sense, California would bungle it, because that is what California does best. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. After Bonta's big operation in San Diego, where they arrested and ticketed over 100 guys for solicitation of prostitution and loitering, do you think we need to crack down further to curb demand, or do we go the other way and legalize and regulate this? What do you think? 800-222-5222. Let's go to Mike in Vallejo. Mike, hello.
Randy, how you doing, partner?
Doing great.
Excellent. I agree with the last caller. I will say it loud and proud. I'll say my name. I'll say where I'm from, and I'll say exactly what he said. At 17 years old, I joined the military, and from that point on, I have been doing this. I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm not quite as old as the last guy, but very close. Yes, I have my own business, and I'm here to tell you, for a couple $100, you can find a woman skilled enough in her craft to turn you into a boiled chicken, and she says things like, thank you. She says things like, I can't wait to see you again. There's no drama. There's no BS involved in all this. It is a service being provided. And like you said, it's no problem doing it on OnlyFans or whatever, paying two people to do it on a video. But again, I've been to Europe just like you, and it is clean. It is regulated. And let's face it, it is the oldest profession ever.
I think there is definitely an argument that there's never, ever going to be getting rid of demand for this industry. So we can either allow the horrific things to happen that are happening on the streets, or you can find a safe place to facilitate it.
Absolutely. And I want to echo his last statement, though. It's very important what he said. It's one thing a woman who chooses to do this for a living, or a man, depending who the heck you are. And it's another thing someone being forced to do it. A difference.
That's a huge point. Thank you so much for the call, Mike, and thanks for being so honest. I appreciate it. Look, when I was 18, I went to Tijuana. It was legal there. And at that point, that seemed less scary than asking a girl out on a date. I'm a much older and wiser person now, but that's what young guys do. That's what all guys do. Again, when the robots take over, when we have Westworld, who knows what this world's going to look like? Oh, Adam in Santa Rosa has the answer I've been looking for. Adam, hello.
Hello, Randy. How you doing?
Doing great.
So I believe that what you were thinking of was salvia.
Yes, salvia.
So salvia divinorum is a sage derivative. It's in the sage family. And so what salvia did is you're not supposed to it wasn't supposed to be a large amount. You would either put a little bit of marijuana in the bottom and then put marijuana in the bottom and a little bit of salvia on top, Or you would just smoke a little bit of salvia, but it never required much. And the second you exhaled, you instantly felt it. And you had no control over what you're going to experience. Everybody experiences something different, but you have absolutely no control, and you will see or experience something, 100%. And it lasts about 3 minutes, and then it disappears. I know you mentioned a headache. I had never experienced a headache. You have a euphoric feeling for about 3 hours after, but the high itself, and it is more than DMT, acid. It is more than mushrooms. And I have friends who've done all that stuff who are in their 70s. And I'm telling you, salvia is extremely strong. It's a do once or twice and probably never again, just because you're going to see something. And you don't have really control like you might over some mushrooms or you might have with acid. This salvia, even though it's sage, is crazy.
Well, and one of the things that
bushes also cause hallucinogenics.
Well, and one of the things that people probably don't realize is that is perfectly legal, and you can buy it in smoke shops right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I know, like you had said, a lot stopped carrying it. The first time I encountered it was up in Chico, north on 101. But it was in Santa Rosa for a small amount of time and then just gone. The strength level also had decreased over time. Originally, like 80x was the high strength. But over time, they lowered it, probably because they noticed what was happening or realized you just really didn't need it. And also that the money wasn't there. Once people realized this was just way too strong, and even for people who have done, I had friends, my old friend in Vietnam, he passed now, but you know, buttons, and I think you know what I mean, but smoking buttons, all that kind of stuff, and even him, I mean, he thought that he was walking, like his legs looked like they were down the Grand Canyon. I had a friend who said he had no doubt that he could walk into the television. He refused to touch the TV because he thought he could walk into it. Or a close friend of mine who was inside of this, just a giant forest. Everything's white, and he sees this stream running through, and he leans down for some water, and he said some people like pushed him over and were telling him that he couldn't leave. And I'm watching him. He's on his back with like a bug that dies, right? And his hands and feet are up. He's like, no. It's like, oh my God, what the hell's wrong with you? I had never seen that before.
Those are some wild stories, Adam. I got to tell you, the only time I ever tried it, it just gave me a splitting headache, and then I went back to pot for 10 years. But thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Bonta announced a big crackdown on solicitation of prostitution in San Diego. Of course, all that happened was the guys who got arrested got tickets. What do you think? Do we go further down? Do we make that a felony? Do we really crack down on the demand, or do we just decide to go full Amsterdam and legalize this profession? What say you? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. No wrong answers here, and as you can see, people are calling in being brutally honest, and we appreciate it. It's Randy Wang here. Let's get back to the phones on the question of cracking down further or legalizing prostitution in California. Let's go to Mike in California. Mike, hello.
How you doing today?
Doing great.
There was a time when there was a webpage called Redbook, and it got shut down by the state, but it was actually a place for working girls to advertise. But in addition, it had chat rooms and reviews. People could actually post reviews about the girls, which some liked, some didn't. You know, the ones that liked it worked it. But in the chat rooms, most of them were run by other girls, so it got kind of catty. But at one point, Maddie, the wife of Red, who ran it, asked me to run one. And being a guy, you know, I ran it completely different. It was respectful. Girls got to meet guys online first. And one thing that started is girls would talk to me privately and tell me about guys that were violent or would rip them off. And we actually started trading that information with the other girls, and they appreciated it. You know, it helped keep them safe.
Yeah, that kind of information definitely needs to be shared. If the girls are going to have a 1 to 5 star review, so should the customers as well.
Well, in addition, you know, I was friends with a lot of them, you know, more than a customer. We started doing meet and greet dinners. And the standing rule was this is just, they're on break, they're just out to socialize, and it's not a hit party. But those got pretty big. We had dinners up to like 40, 60 people at times. And it just turned into a nice social. It was a whole different clique. And a lot of these girls, that's all they can do. There's a lot of illegals, ones that didn't have an education, but they can make a lot of money. One of them I know, she's actually bought property in the Philippines and retiring there. And others, they've gotten good jobs, and they've actually left them to go back to working. Because if they do it right, they can make a lot of money. You just have to use some common sense to be safe.
Well, I think you make some interesting points, Mike. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Appreciate it. It is something to consider. AI is about to take away a whole lot of jobs. At some point, this might be one of the only jobs that's left, unless the sex robots are really good. Let's go to Stacy in Bellflower. Stacy, hello.
Hey there. Oh gosh, listening to these guys it's just disturbing. I am just wondering why our country just keeps giving into the decay of morals everywhere. And instead of enforcing law and order. So you guys, they gave those guys a few tickets. Big deal. Tickets are nothing. Charge them severe fines, make them pay fines, confiscate their paychecks, put it on there, let their companies know what they're doing. I mean, women are not for sale. They are not for sale. We can do better than that for the women in this country. And that guy there saying, this helps to keep them safe by sharing information. No, it doesn't. They're going to get into a room with these guys locked up in a room naked. They could kill them, obviously rape them, drug them, whatever. But instead of giving into that and just saying, we know what's going on, let's just make it legal. No, crack down on the damn crime of it. Crack down on their pimps. I mean, really? That's the solution to it? Just every woman's body's for sale and let them do it because they're doing it anyway? No, stop this. It's crazy. And those guys, I'm sorry, you guys that are all saying it's okay, you don't want to go on these long-term dates. You guys are pigs. Yeah, I'm serious. Absolute pigs.
So, Stacy, do you think that the people that purchase the, people that are the Johns, sorry, Johnny, but to use that term, do you think they should be in prison?
No, I don't think they should be in prison at all. Our prisons, are overcrowded right now of, these really violent criminals. No, but fine them. Ticket isn't anything. Fine them. Make them pay for that. Eventually, if they keep doing it, then maybe go to prison. If people just don't respect law and order, there needs to be prison time for that. There's guys that have rap sheets that are a mile long, so that doesn't work either. So at some point we got to crack down on that, and maybe they need time. But no, you're just going out a couple of times and finding yourself a prostitute or whatever. I don't think that they should be in jail. There's just not enough space. But fine them, hit them with their wallet, and hit them with their work. Just like the dads that don't pay child support, they get their paychecks confiscated, and everybody knows about that. Do that. Shame them like that and make them pay. But don't give into it and just say, yep, no problem, we're going to give into it. These women are for sale. No, they're not. We can do better than that.
Well, I really appreciate your passionate argument on this, Stacy. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Teddy in Burbank. Teddy, hello.
Hey, how are you, Randy?
Doing great.
Norma Jean Almodovar wrote a book called From Cop to Call Girl. She did this basically in conjunction with founding Coyote, which was a women's protection group. And it will open your eyes.
I'll have to check it out. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. We got time for one more here. Mike in Petaluma, keep it clean. Mike, hello.
Oh, hello. Hey, I have a whole different take on this. And it starts with I took my aunt to her doctor's appointment. And then as I came in, I saw all these men there. It's a female doctor. And so I asked the receptionist, how come there's so many men here? She says, well, the doctor, comes from an old school where they do prostate massage.
Oh, my goodness. I know exactly where you're going with that story. I'm so sorry. We're out of time. Thank you so much for the call. Well, that was a lot of fun. Interesting debate, wasn't it? That's what we do here. There's no wrong answers. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this show. I got to go hop on the 405 freeway, suffer for an hour, have some lunch, and then I'll be back on the air on KABC at 5 o'clock right after Motec. If you're in the Bay and you want to listen, go to KABC.com or download the KABC app. It's Randy Wang here on The John Phillips Show.